Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's glorification of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We are in canto number 4 and the creation of the fourth order, chapter number 30, the activities of the Prachetas. And today we'll be covering two verses, 14 and 15. So let's begin with the chanting of Radha. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya
Radha
Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Gopishana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama Hare
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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama Rama
Rama Rama
Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada
Jaya
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitya Gaura Hari
Hare
Bol,
Bo, Hare
Hari
Bo,
Bol,
Hare
Hari
Bo,
Bol,
Jai
Nitya Gaura
Gaura, Hare
Hari
Bo.
Bol,
Nitai Gaura Hari Hari Bol
Hari Bol.
Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivirajacharya Ashtotra Shatrashi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravand Bhakti Vedanta Swami Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai,
ISKCON BBT Founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai,
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivirajacharya Ashtotra Shatrashi Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai,
Anant Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya
Jai,
Srila Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se
Jai,
कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय
Jai,
राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय ब्रजू
Jai,
धाम की जय नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय पुरुषोत्तम
Jai,
नागपुरी धाम की जय
Jai,
गंगा की जय यमुना माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समावेत
Jai,
भक्त वृंद की जय हरिनाम
Jai,
संकीर्तन की जय संकीर्तन नैत्या की जय बृहत मृदंग की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय
Jai,
प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ऑल ग्लोरी assembled
Hari
devotees hare krishna all
Hare Krishna,
assembled devotees hare
Hare
glories to assembled devotees hare all
Hare
all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada
Prabhupada ki Jai.
Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya
Om
Om
Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Deva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devi
Devim Saraswatim
Saraswatim
Vyasam
Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Tato Jayam Udire
Nashta Prayesho Bhadreshu
Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Nestaki
Sarvashastra Piyusha
Sarva Shastra Vidipyusha
Sarva Vedaika Satphala
Sarva Vedika Satpala
Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya
Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadaya
Sarva Lokaika Drikprada
Sarva Loke Kadrikpada
Sarva Bhagavata Prana
Sarva Bhagavata Prana
Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabhu
Srimad Bhagavato Prabhu
Kalidvanto Didaditya
कलिद्वन्तोदितादित्या
Shri Krishna Parivartita
श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता
Paramananda Pataya
परमानंद पाठाय
Prema Varshi Aksharayate
प्रेम वर्षे अक्षरायते
Sarvada Sarvasevyaya
सर्वदा सर्वसेवयाय
Shri Krishnaya Namostume
श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तु मे
Madheka Bando Matsangin
मत एक बंदो मत संगे
Madguru Manmahadana
मत गुरु मन महातना
Mannistaraka Madbhagya
मन निष्ठार का मत भाग्या
Madananda Namostute
मन आनंद नमोस्तुते
Asadu Sadhu Tadayin
साधु साधुता दाई
Adi Nityocha Katakara
अतिन चोच कथा करा
Ana Muncha Kada Chinmam
आना मुंच कदाचिन मां
Premna Hrit Kantayo Spura
प्रेमना हृत कंठयो स्फुरा
So we are in Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 30, the activities of the Prachetas, and in text number 14. Shut Shamaya Mukke Raja
च्युत श्यामाया मुखे राजा
Toma Piyusha Varshinim
सोमहा पीयूषा वचिने
Deshinim Rodamanaya
देशिनीम रोदमानाया
Nidadesa Dayanvitaha
निदयान्वितः
Shutta Shamaya Mukhe Raja
च्युत श्यामाया मुखे राजा
Soma Piyusha Varshinim
सोमः पीयूषा वर्षिणी
Deshinim Rodamanaya
देशिनीम रोदमानाया
Nidadesa Dayanvitaha
निदते सादयान्वितः
Shut-shamaya mukhe raja
च्युत श्यामाया मुखे राजा
Soma piyusha varshinim
सोमः पीयूषा वर्षिणीं
Deshinim rodamanaya
देशिनीं रोदमानाया
Nidadesa dayanvitaha
निदते सादयान्विता
Devotees, please chant.
च्युत श्यामाया मुखे राजा
Shut-shamaya mukhe raja
सोमः पीयूषा वर्षिणीं
Soma piyusha varshinim
देशिनीं रोदमानाया
Deshinim rodamanaya
निदते सादयान्वितः
Nidadesa dayanvitaha
Chuchama Mukhe Raja
Shut-shamaya mukhe
मुखे राजा
raja
Joma Biyu Savasina
Soma piyusha varshinim
Esinim Rodamanaya
Deshinim rodamanaya
Nidari Sadayanvitaha
Nidadesa dayanvitaha
क्षुत्क्षामाया मुखे राजा
Shut-shamaya mukhe raja
सोमः पीयूषवर्षिणीम्
Soma piyusha varshinim
देशिनीं रोदमानाया
Deshinim rodamanaya
निदधे सदयान्वितः
Nidadesa dayanvitaha. Anybody else? Okay. We will move to the word. Shut,
Truth
by hunger,
by hunger
हुंगर
Shamayaha,
Kshama.
Kshamayaha.
When she was distressed,
When
When
she
she
was
was distressed,
Mukhe,
Mukhe.
within the mouth,
within the mouth,
Raja,
Raja,
the king,
the king,
Somaha,
Somaha,
the moon,
the moon,
Piyusha,
Piyusha,
nectar,
nectar,
Varshinim,
Varshini,
pouring,
pouring,
Deshinim,
Deshinim,
forefinger,
forefinger,
Rodamanayaha.
Rudamanayaha.
While she was crying,
While she was crying,
Nidade,
Nidade,
placed,
place,
Saha,
Saha,
he,
he,
Daya Anvitaha,
Daya, Anvitaha,
being compassionate.
being compassionate.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Thereafter, the child who was left to the care of the trees began to cry in hunger. At that time, the king of the forest, namely the king of the moon planet, out of compassion placed his finger, which poured forth nectar within the child's mouth. Thus, the child was raised by the mercy of the king of the moon. Kindly repeat. Thereafter, the child
Thereafter, the child
who was left to the care of the trees
who was left to the care of the trees
began to cry in hunger.
began to cry in hunger.
At that time,
At that time,
the king of the forest, namely the king of the moon planet,
the king of the forest, namely the king of the moon planet,
out of compassion,
out of compassion,
placed his finger,
placed his finger,
which poured forth nectar
which poured forth nectar
within the child's mouth.
the child's mouth.
Thus the child was raised
Thus the child was raised
by the mercy of the king of the moon.
by the mercy of the king of the moon.
Purport. Kindly hear. Although the Apsara left her child to the care of the trees could not take care of the child properly. Therefore, the trees handed the child over to the king of the moon. Thus, Chandra, the king of the moon, put his finger within the mouth of the child to satisfy her hunger. We'll recite text 15. Prajavida visarga adishtaha
Raja Visaga Adishtaha
Pitra manuvartata
Manuvatata
Tatra kanyam vararoham
Tatra Kanyam Vararoham
Tam udvahatamam machiram
Chiram
Prasa visarga adishtaha
Raja Visaga Adishtaha
Pitra manuvartata
Pitra mam anuvartata
Tatra kanyam vararoham
Tatra
Kanyam
kanyam vararoham
Tam udvahatamachiram
Tam udvahata mam chiram
Praja visarga adishtaha
Praja visarga adishtaha
Pitra manuvartata
Pitra mam anuvartata
Tatra kanyam vararoham
Tatra kanyam vararoham
Tam udvahatamachiram
Tam udvahata mam chiram
Praja visarga adishtaha
Raja visarga adishtaha
Pitra manuvartata
Mam anuvartata
Tatra kanyam vararoham
तत्र
कन्यां वरारोहाम्
कन्याम्बरारोहाम्
ताम् उद्वहतमाचिरम्.
तामुद्वहतमाचिरम्
चिरम्
Devotees kindly chant.
प्रजा विसर्ग आदिष्टः
प्रजा
प्रजाविसर्गादिष्टः
विसर्गादिष्टाः
पित्रा माम् अनुवर्तता
पित्रा
पित्रा
मामनुवर्तता
मामनुवर्तता
तत्र कन्यां वरारोहाम्
तत्र कन्यां वरारोहाम्
ताम् उद्वता माम् चिरम्
ताम्
तामुद्वहतमाचिरम्
उद्वहतमाचिरम्.
राजा विशाखा अरिष्टः
प्रजा
प्रजाविसर्गादिष्टः
विसर्गादिष्टाः
पित्रा मामनुवर्तता
पित्रा
पित्रा
मामनुवर्तता
मामनुवर्तता
तत्र कन्यां वरारोहम्
तत्र कन्यां वरारोहाम्
अमुर्वाहतमं चिरम्
ताम् उद्वहतमाचिरम्.
उद्वहतमाचिरम्
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move to the word to word. Praja visarge,
प्रजा विसर्गे
to create progeny.
to create progeny
Adishtaha,
आदिष्टः
being ordered.
being ordered
Pitra,
Pitra
by your father.
by your father
Mam,
Mom
my direction.
my direction
Anuvartata,
Anuvartata
following.
following
Tatra,
Tatra
there.
there
Kanyam,
Kanyam
the daughter.
the daughter
Vara aroham,
Vara Aroham
highly qualified and exquisitely beautiful.
highly qualified and exquisitely beautiful
Tam,
Tam
her.
her
Udvahata,
Udvata
marry.
Mary
Ma,
Ma
without.
without
Chiram,
Chiram
wasting time.
wasting time
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Since all of you are very much obedient to my orders, I ask you to immediately marry that girl who is so well qualified with beauty and good qualities. According to the order of your father, create progeny through her. Kindly repeat. Since all of you
Since
Since
all of
all
you
of you
are very much obedient to my orders,
are very much obedient to my orders
I ask you
I
I
ask
ask you
to immediately marry that girl
to
to
immediately
immediately marry that girl
who is so well qualified
who is
who
so
is so
qualified
well qualified
with beauty and good qualities.
with
with
beauty
beauty and good qualities
According to the order of your father,
according
according to the
order
order of your father
create progeny through her.
create
create progeny through her.
Kindly hear the purport. The Prachetas were not only great devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but were very obedient to the orders of their father. Therefore, the Lord asked them to marry the daughter of Prem Locha. Okay, let's recite the Mangalachanam. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahrijatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna,
कृष्णा
Krishna
कृष्णा
Krishna,
हरे हरे
Hare
हरे राम राम
Rama,
राम हरे
Hare
हरे। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्य देशतारिणे। So today's words, first verse 14. शुच्छामाय मुखे राजा सोमपीयूष वर्षिणीं देशिनीं रोदमानाया निददे स दयान्वितः। Then text 15. प्रजा विसर्ग आदिष्टाः पित्रा मामनुवर्तता तत्र कन्यां वरारोहां ताम् उद्वहतमाचिरम्. So the translations. Thereafter, the child who was left to the care of the trees began to cry in hunger. At that time, the king of the forest, namely the king of the moon planet, out of compassion, placed his finger, which poured forth nectar within the child's mouth. Thus, the child was raised by the mercy of the king of the moon. So, in this section, what we are actually looking at is the Prachetas having been in austerity for more than 10,000 years, following the instructions of Lord Shiva, chanting the Rudra Gita. And they now have had the direct appearance of the Lord before them. And the Lord, Supreme Lord, is actually addressing them. And as part of it, the Supreme Lord is about to give them instructions for them to enter the Grahasthashram by marrying Marisha, who is the daughter of sage Kandu and the heavenly damsel Premlocha. So in this case, the actual details of the how Marisha came to be in the being brought up by the trees is actually given in the Vishnu Purana. In Vishnu Purana, I think it's in chapter 15 of Canto 1. That's where it is given. So what happened was Kandu, Rishi Kandu was a great well-versed Brahmana who knew everything. So what he did was he decided to dedicate his time in meditation to attain his desired goals. And his penance was extremely challenging. In summer, he would stand in the scorching sun meditating. And in the monsoon, he would be outside where there used to be extreme rain, and still he will stand there in the open, under the open sky, and get soaked in the rain and still meditate. And in the winter season, he would still be outside bearing the cold, everything. So in this way, he did very intense meditation. But anyone on the Bhuloka who does this kind of intense meditation immediately attracts the attention of Indra. So Indra grew very apprehensive. He thought that Kandu is actually doing all this meditation and sacrifice so that he would take up his position. So Indra engaged this damsel, beautiful Apsara Premlocha, to disturb the tapasya of Rishi Kandu. So under the instructions of Indra, the Apsara Premlocha, she descended to the earth near the hermitage of Rishi Kandu on the Gomti river, on the banks of the river Gomti, where every day the Rishi would come to the river and he would see this very beautiful Premlocha there. But initially, he did not take much notice of her. But what Premlocha would do is every day she would be serving him. In the sense, she would make all the place neat, make it good, easy for him to come and have the bath in the thing, then make a place for him to sit down, everything. Like this way, she used to serve Rishi Kandu. So after some time, Rishi Kandu began to take notice of this, and then he came upon the beauty of Premlocha. And when he saw her with that beauty, he immediately became enchanted by her, and therefore he succumbed to the romantic aspirations of Premlocha. And in this way, he then invited her to live with him in his cottage. And later, he moved with her to the Mandrachala mountains. And there, they both, Premlocha and Rishi Kandu, were so much immersed in the love and desire that they had spent so much of time. So after staying 100 years with Rishi Kandu, Premlocha requested him to allow her to go back to her abode in the Swargaloka. But Rishi Kandu, who was so madly in love with her, was not keen to allow her to go back. So he insisted that she stay for a longer time with him. And then in this way, she then acceded to that request and stayed back. And another 100 years passed. And she again requested, but Kandu again requested her not to go and extend her stay here. Like this, a few times passed. Then one evening, Kandu, he hurriedly gathered himself from his cottage to go and do his Sandhya Vandana, because it was the kind of the time in the evening where the sun is about to set, and therefore it is time to perform his Sandhya Vandana. And he was hurriedly preparing all the things and getting ready to go. Premlocha, she noticed this and inquired of Rishi Kandu, what was he planning to do? And he responded, oh, now is the time to offer Sandhya Vandana. So therefore I have to go. The day is coming to an end. When Premlocha heard Rishi Kandu say this, she started laughing. And Rishi Kandu became quite, infamed. And he kind of chastised her and said, you came this morning and I've spent this whole day with you. Now it's time for me to perform my religious duty and I'm going, and why are you laughing at me? And this caused Premlocha to even more laugh at him sarcastically. And she said, do you think only a day has passed? we have spent hundreds of years. And in these hundreds of years, there have been many such days where you have not performed your Sandhya Vandana or your other religious rites properly. The Rishi Kandu became very confused. He said, no, you only came, I saw you on the banks of Gomti this morning, and you have been with me only today, and that's all is there. And now the sun is setting and I have to go and do. But she said, no, you have completely forgotten how much time has passed since you have seen me. And then she explains that it is actually 907 years, 6 months, and 3 days that both of them have spent together. So Rishi Kandu then becomes really frustrated with himself, and he becomes so morose at being lured by Premlocha, and in this process his practice of tapasya has been sabotaged, and he regretted his own act, and therefore he immediately left the place. Of course, he cursed himself, but he did not curse Premlocha, because he understood that Premlocha was just doing the duties as given by Indra. So he held himself accountable for his loss of control and for falling to his own desires. And he immediately asked Premlocha to go back, to leave him and go back to the Indraloka. And whilst she left that way, then she wiped, because Rishi Kandu was so angry at her and everything, she became afraid, and as a result, she started perspiring. And therefore, what she did was, her sweat that was there, she wiped that off, and she wiped it on the leaves of the plants. And it is said that in the course of this action, the child which was there in the womb of Premlocha, which was because of her union with Kandu, came out in the form of the drops of the sweat, and the trees, the leaves, which were all wiped with the sweat, then collated all that, and the trees and the wind brought all those drops together. And in this way, the moon, which is as it is mentioned in this verse, as the king of the forest, the moon nurtured that, and out of that, a girl was born, and she was named Marisha. So this is the girl that Vishnu is instructing the Prachetas, the 10 Prachetas, to marry. So thereafter, Rishi Kandu, who became ashamed of himself, he wanted to give up his life for the mistakes that he had done. That's when a divine message was conveyed to him, to proceed to Jagannath Puri, the Purushottam Dham, and to pray to Vishnu for his mercy and seek an apology. So what he did was, he then proceeded to Purushottam Dham, Jagannath Puri, and there he saw the ashramas of great sages like Bhrigu, Angira, and Markandeya. And then for years he stayed there and meditated himself. He engaged in the process of self-realization, and then he recited the Brahma Parastotra written by Lord Brahma. And on continuous recitation of this, then Lord Vishnu appeared before him, and sage Kandu asked for liberation from this world. And then in this way, then after finishing his time on earth, he reached the ultimate goal of going back to the spiritual world. So this is the backstory which is available in Vishnu Purana. So therefore, here it is said that in this case, when this girl, Marisha, was formed, and she was under, because both Premlocha as well as Premlocha left the girl there, and Kandu also did not want to have anything to do with her. She was brought up by the trees, but the trees did not take care of her because of the form in which they were. Therefore, the king of the forest, the king of the moon, Chandra, he took hold of Marisha, and at this time when she was crying, he put his finger within the mouth of the child, and feeding her with nectar satisfied her hunger. So this is what is given in text 14. In text 15, this verse and the next couple of verses talks about what the Lord is instructing the Prachetas to do. The Lord has already said to them that he is very happy with the Prachetas because they have all taken up this act of great tapasya, but more than that, they have actually been very nice with each other and carried on this under the orders of their father and under the orders of Lord Shiva, who appeared before them and gave them the Rudra Gita, instructions in the form of Rudra Gita, and to chant that. So the Lord was very happy with the Prachetas. And in this verse, the most important aspect that the Lord is very much pointing towards is the obedience of the Prachetas to both the Lord and to their father. So their father, King Prachini Barishat, had given them instructions to, after completing their tapasya, their meditation, to then take up the role of grahastha and to be a king, to be a good king to all the citizens of the kingdom. So therefore, the Lord is also pointing out that they are such nice devotees of the Lord, and that they should actually carry out the order of their father, King Prachini Barishat. And therefore, in order to do it, he is pointing out that this girl, Marisha, who was born, she is she is well qualified to be their wife. And because she is endowed with beauty and with good qualities. And therefore, he instructs all the 10 Prachetas to marry Marisha. Of course, normally in the Vedic system, usually it is the man who has many wives. Very, very rarely a woman has many husbands. We see that in the case of Draupadi and the Pandavas. And here it is expressly the Lord is instructing the Prachetas to marry, the 10 of them, to marry the one girl, Marisha. And this is very unusual, mainly because and it will be explained in the later verses that personality, if the lady who is to be married to many husbands, her ability to equally satisfy all of them and to maintain the unity amongst all her husbands means that is a very special person, and therefore only such personalities are able to or given the order to marry many husbands. So in this way, it is done. And of course, here Marisha is also what to say, she is of a very high parentage, being born of Prem Locha, who is a resident of the Swargaloka in association with Sage Kandu, again, who he was also a great personality because he had managed to obtain the direct vision of the Lord and for him to be granted the ultimate residence in the spiritual world. So coming of such high parentage, and the thing here, the Lord is pointing out that yes, she is the right person for you to marry, and because you have maintained such good association amongst yourselves, and also because this girl is of very great qualities, that you should marry her. So the point that comes about in this is that there is the question of obedience, and therefore what is given here is that of course, as I said before, the obedience of prachetas both to the Supreme Lord and to their father. So this act of obedience of the prachetas to the higher authorities is what is illustrated in this verse 15. The question comes is that what is the reason that we should have this obedience, especially to the Supreme Lord? The point that is there is, as is given in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavat pranitam, meaning dharma is what is set by the Lord. So if we are to actually follow dharma, that means that which is enunciated by the Lord. Just like if we buy any kind of appliance, there comes a manual along with it as to how it is to be used. So in this world, we are put in here by the Lord, who has given us this body. He has enunciated the principles of dharma, and he has given what rules and regulations are there to be followed. Therefore, we have to have obedience to the Supreme Lord. Few of the reasons why we might do. First would be that we get the highest benefit by following the instructions of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because the Supreme Lord alone can take us out of this world of birth and death. Just as we saw in this case, of course, Sage Kandu, he fell down from his position of self-realization after performing so much tapasya. Still, he became enamored by Prem Locha, and he spent all that time. But at the end of which, he realized his mistake. But when he realized his mistake, and he then again took up to this process and tried to actually please the Lord by focusing his attention upon him and understanding what is his rightful duty, what is it that he should actually do. So he did that, and he ultimately reached the spiritual destination. So if we are to come out of this cycle of birth and death in this world, the only way that it is going to be possible is by following the Lord's instructions. We've got many examples in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam where by following the Lord's instructions, one gets the highest benefit. One such example is that of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj, who in spite of being stopped by his own guru, Shukracharya, not to offer charity to the Brahmana boy who had come there, to the dwarf Brahmana who had come there, because he said, this is the Supreme Lord who has come here. So if you try to do it, he will take away all your opulence, he will take away everything that you have, and you will not have anything at all. But then Bali Maharaj said, if it is the Supreme Lord who has come before me, then why should I not do this? It is in my interest actually to do it, and therefore I will do it. And he did that, and he ultimately was captured by Vamanadev. But when he was captured, he surrendered completely. But that aspect of surrendering to the Supreme Lord, taking over his instructions, offering his head as the final resting place for the Supreme Lord's feet, gave him the ultimate benefit, where the Supreme Lord is always with him. Although he is pushed down to the Patala Loka, to the Sutala Loka where he is there, the Lord in the form of Vamanadev acts as a storekeeper, giving him constant association. So in that aspect, in the I think, not mistaken, it is the 6th canto, I think. 1 minute, I'll just pick out the verse. There's a nice set of verses in there. So I can't find the verse here. But later, actually, Vamanadev inquires of Shukracharya after he has arrested Bali Maharaj and he has dispatched him to Sutalaloka. He asks Shukracharya, what was the discrepancy in this yajna performed by Bali that led to him actually losing his kingdom? Because usually the yajna is performed for getting more prosperity. But in this case, he has lost everything. So what is there? And there, Shukracharya says, actually, what mistake can be there in a yajna where the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is present? What mistake can be there where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is being offered everything that that person has? What mistake can be there where the glorification of the Lord takes place? So therefore, the point there was that actually one has to understand that there was nothing missing. In fact, that sacrifice of Bali Maharaj gave him the most highest benefit. So similarly, just by following the instructions of the Supreme Lord gives us the most highest benefit. Then we can take the example of Arjuna. Arjuna, at the start of the Kurukshetra war, is very much confused. In fact, when he is led before the Kurus by Krishna pointing out the various warriors who are there, he then, which is basically the instruction of Krishna to say, look at these warriors, these are the persons you are going to fight, so get ready and fight. But Arjuna becomes completely reluctant. He, in fact, puts forward so many points. The whole of the second part of chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna actually saying to Krishna, no, I cannot do what you are asking me to do. All these things will actually bring forth only problems. So I do not see any point in actually following your instruction. But then, through the whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna dismantles all of the reasons that Arjuna puts forward not to fight, and gives him all the reasons and the explanations to those questions in the first chapter and to the further questions that there are. I think there are 18 sets of questions that Arjuna puts forward to Krishna. And ultimately, Krishna, after explaining everything, he says to Arjuna, now I have given you all that is there. Have your doubts been cleared? Are you ready to do what I am requesting? But it is totally up to you. He leaves it totally. But then Arjuna accepts whatever as Krishna has said, and then proceeds to fight in the Kurukshetra war. And as a result of that, what happens? He achieves victory. He gets the most prosperity in the form of becoming the ruler of the entire world. Of course, Yudhishthira is nominated as the king because one of the five has to be the king. But he gets to enjoy all the prosperity that is there. And not only that, ultimately, when all the Pandavas give up this world, they all get to go back to the spiritual world. So, following the Lord's instructions will bring us victory, prosperity, and ultimately our ability to return to the spiritual world. And why we need to follow the instructions of the Lord? Because He is the perfect authority. If we try to follow instructions not from the Lord or from those who are devoted to the Lord, all others may give us instructions which will not give us the perfect knowledge. Why? Because all of us are conditioned souls. We suffer from the 4 defects. So therefore, whatever knowledge, even if it is trying to give the perfect knowledge, when it is not connected with the instructions spoken by the Lord and as explained by the great devotees of the Lord, when persons independently try to give such instructions, that instructions will not be perfect. Even the great demigods like Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Indra, and everybody else, they all depend upon the Lord's instructions. The Lord's instructions alone are perfect. He is the only flawless personality. So He is the only one who can give the perfect instructions. Otherwise, the instructions that we would get are going to be tinged with the imperfections that are there in the material realm. Therefore, we have to take the instructions, the perfect instructions from the perfect personality. And ultimately, the thing is that the Lord's instructions is followed by the great personalities. It is said, Dharmasya Tattvam Nihatat Guhayam. That means the understanding the principles of Dharma is very, very subtle and confidential. Therefore, our safest course, rather than try to interpret how this path of Dharma should be followed, the easiest way is to follow the paths followed by the Mahajanas. Mahajano yena sa katapsya panta. So all the great personalities of the world, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya, everybody, all these great souls who are here. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Lord himself, but all of them have given us that instruction of surrender to Krishna ultimately. So if we just follow in the paths of the realized souls, then our path becomes the most safest path. There is no problems at all. That is what is there. And ultimately, we should not think that the Lord's instructions give us a very narrow path to tread. No. If we obediently follow the Lord's instructions, they give us the best relief. The Lord's instructions actually pacify our distressed heart. Just by remembering Him alone, all our sufferings are gone. Queen Kunti, in her prayers, she says, let there be more suffering happen upon me, because in that suffering, I am always thinking of you, Krishna. And by thinking of you, all other things are automatically gone. So let there be more suffering so that I can remember you always. Of course, this is at the highest level. But the point is, our heart's distress is immediately mitigated, completely gone, simply by remembering the Lord. Therefore, this obedience to the Lord is actually necessary for mitigating the distress of our heart and for bringing in that highest bliss that is there. Therefore, we need to follow that Supreme Lord's instructions. And what we will see here of the Prachetas is that they will follow this instruction of the Supreme Lord, taking that and actually do it. These points in respect of the second verse, I'm grateful to His Grace Gaur Gopal Prabhu's class on this verse, from which I've taken these points. But I felt that it so well encapsulated this verse, and it provided us the basis to understand how being obedient to the Lord and to our higher authorities actually can help us traverse this path very carefully, and will bring us ultimately to the point where we can actually engage forever in the service of Lord Krishna. So these were some of my thoughts on these couple of verses. If others have any further points to add, kindly do. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Medhavi Prabhu. Thank you very much for such a wonderful class and giving us the background of, how that she was born and then she was married to the Prachetas. Then now, but just thinking that because of Prachetas, the Lord appeared and He gave the instructions to 10 sons of Krishna Varisha to get married to the girl. What was Manisha? Was it Manisha?
Marisha.
Yeah. So she was married to them. But in their case, the Lord came in person to give the instructions to them. But we, as ordinary people, and we can't have a personal darshan of Lord and give us instructions. So for us, it's the instructions of our spiritual master, and whatever instructions spiritual master has given us, we need to follow them, because we are not going to have darshan of the Lord straight off. So in this age, so that is one point I was just thinking. Otherwise, if we say, okay, Lord is going to come personally to me and give my instruction, it's not. Of course, we have got scriptures and we read the scriptures and read all the Bhagavatam stories and incidents, what happened. So that is one point which we can follow. But ultimately, for us, the instruction of spiritual master is just instructions coming from the Lord. So that's the one point I was just thinking. Another thing is what we are going to follow is also important, whether it is coming from spiritual master. And in the case of Bali Maharaj, as you mentioned, that Shukracharya when told him not to give whatever Lord asked for, because they knew he was Lord, Lord Vishnu. But then Bali Maharaj thought that the higher, uh, you know, uh, thing was that he knew that it was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he said, I can't follow my guru. So he actually rejected the order of his spiritual master. So that's one thing which, of course, Bali Maharaj is level is very higher than us. But in these cases, when you know that the main thing is to follow the or worship the Lord. So it was actually worshipping the Lord. He lost everything, but he refused the order of his spiritual master. So these are 2 points I just wanted to emphasize on them. Thank you very much again,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Medhavi, for adding these wonderful points to what I said. Certainly, see, when we think that we can, that is a kind of point that I made previously about us trying to understand the laws of Dharma by ourselves. We cannot do it. We need the guidance, and therefore we need to follow in the footsteps of the great acharyas. And when I say great acharyas, that includes our spiritual masters. To consider the spiritual master as an ordinary human being is one of the biggest mistakes that we can make. And therefore that includes everybody. But thank you very much, Mataji. That we need to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. The spiritual master, as it says, the Lord says that Acharyam mam vijanayam. The Acharya is verily me, he says. So unless we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, we cannot go back to the Lord. Only when the spiritual master is satisfied, then the Lord is satisfied. We sing that every day in our morning prayers. So certainly we have to follow the instructions of our spiritual masters. We cannot try to be our own or do all these things based on our own strength. We don't have anything. It is by the mercy of the Lord flowing through the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master which enables us to be able to do something at least. So absolutely. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else like to add or have any further points to which I say? Okay, thank you very much. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Medhavi Das Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत भरतवृंद की जय।